Welcome to Something Crunchy. Tyler is homies with Blake. Blake is the older bro of Blair. Blair is married to Tyler and is a slutty slut.
Welcome to Something Crunchy.
What the hell is crunchy?
Welcome to Something Crunchy.
Welcome to another special edition episode of Something Crunchy. I am Kellen Blake. With me, as always, Blair and Tyler Dressel. We have another very crunchy guest joining us tonight. She's an actress, author, comedian, model, television show host, world traveler, and fellow podcaster. Please welcome Wendy Stuart Kaplan.
Hey! Wow, what an introduction. I'm so happy to be here with you all tonight. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for joining
Wendy.
us. How are you, Wendy?
Oh, I am excellent. I am in New York City. We had a gorgeous day today. I went to Central Park tonight before I talked to you, and I saw an owl. We may be really urban, but we've got this incredible park right in the middle. And you know what? It's my mind relaxation to do that on a Friday. So, yeah.
Oh,
While you're
fun.
having drinks on a Friday, I'm watching owls in a park. So there.
Love that.
Oh, that's great. And you're from New York, right? Club girl?
Yes, from the Bronx originally. Yes, but that is New York.
Right.
Born and raised, and and I live in the city now, which I love. I can't live anywhere else. As you guys know, I've traveled all over the world, but I'll never. I don't think I can ever get out of New York. I love LA, but I don't think I could ever relocate. I'm just too New York. You know what I'm saying?
No, I get that.
Got that East
New
Coast
York is
feel
so
to you.
fun. It's such a special place.
It's a vibe, baby.
Thank
It
you for saying that.
is.
Which part of the country you people in?
Well, Blair and I grew up in Dallas, but we all live in the Phoenix, Scottsdale area in Arizona.
Oh, I love. Oh God. Okay, let us talk about Pinnacle Peak and places
Aw.
like that.
Let's-
Oh, I love
Let's
it. So,
do. I'm a native.
oh
Yeah,
my
that's
God,
right.
you're kidding. Oh, can we say saguaro cactus?
You're so cute.
Yes, I do. I love the desert. And when I was out there, I did one of those Jeep tours of the desert. So
Yeah.
beautiful.
Sedona.
Yeah, the pink Jeep.
Oh,
right.
the pink Jeep tours in Sedona. Yes,
That's
you
right.
know about
Oh,
that.
yes.
Oh, we know that one.
There's only one way to
Oh, my
Sedona,
God.
and that's in a pink Jeep, Wendy.
It's great.
Yeah,
I loved
we love
it
it.
there.
We love it here. I never move away. I did and came back.
Where did you move to when you moved away?
The military. I was out and about all over the world, you know.
You
But
have been all over the world. You see, we have that in common.
That's awesome.
Yes.
You world travelers.
Yeah.
Yes, we world travelers. You know what they say, some children are born of the town and some children are born of the world. So
Right.
that's what they
So
say.
fun.
So worldly. Only a worldly person would say something like
I
that.
love it
Have,
so
Oh, I
have that
love
in
that.
the pocket.
So elitist, so worldly. My God, we're getting global here, aren't
Yeah.
we tonight?
We're
Oh, let's get
thinking
global.
locally. We're thinking globally.
Well, Wendy, you are absolutely fascinating, and we are excited to talk to you. We happen to have a couple big overlapping common interests, and one of them is horror movies.
Oh, get out. I love horror movies.
Yes.
Love them.
Had a feeling you'd say that.
I totally love horror movies. I mean, one of the first ones, it still stayed with me. You know how a really good horror movie, I think it actually causes damage. I do, because you'll take that fear and sometimes you don't grow out of it. There was a film called The Last House on the Left. Did any of you see that?
Yes.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
good. Oh, my God. I'm in
Wendy,
good
we
company here.
dedicate a whole month to horror.
Oh,
Yeah, we do.
We've seen,
Stop.
Blake has
Yeah.
literally seen anything that you could probably possibly
And-
think of. I'd actually challenge you to come up with something that he's
Right. And,
not
Hasn't
seen.
seen.
and with that said, I think we could learn a lot about you based on your favorite horror films. Tell us some
Yes.
of your favorites.
Yes.
Okay, Last House on the Left,
Okay.
definitely.
Mhm.
The Others is probably,
Wow,
I-
okay.
yeah, now,
I
I
see your
don't know what
flavor.
it is about that, but it was so dark.
Yeah.
And those photographs of the dead people
That's the Nicole
propped
Kidman
up on
one.
the
Yes.
couch.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes.
yeah.
But I don't, it's so funny. That was not the outstanding thing for me. It was the dead people propped up on the couch in those
Yep.
photographs.
Yeah.
It was something so bone chilling about that.
No, I
So
can
that is
totally feel that.
actually my favorite one. Last House on the Left would have to be number 2. Let's see, the that really old zombie film. John, what's his name? Who did it? Come on, you guys would know it.
Blake,
was-
What is it?
Come on, Blake. You know this. It's a classic.
Night
and
of
they're
the
all
Living Dead?
zombies.
Yeah, the early one from the 80s, Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah, Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
Thank you. There.
Oh,
Good. Ding, 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 ding. Blake wins this round.
Biscuits.
Tyler James actually
I
coming
got
out
it that
with
one.
it.
Thank you very much.
Oh,
Nicely
There
done.
you go.
No, that was classic. And for the time, that was so different. And everything since then has been derivative of that movie in some way, shape, or form.
no, that is so insightful on your part. That is exactly right. And guess what? None of them hit me the way Night of the Living Dead did. Absolutely
Yeah.
none of them. There was something so horrifying about Night of the Living Dead and all of these zombie apocalypse films that have come later. They just don't float my boat the way that one did.
No, that
Yeah.
one definitely did it.
Have you seen anything
Okay.
good recently?
Yeah, I did. So I am so busy, and like when you bring guests onto shows, I have to review all my guests, and I put a lot of time into learning about them, as you guys do, right?
Of
So I
course.
don't get to watch TV, but my daughter got me a subscription to Netflix. So the few times I go on, what do you think I watch? Or I watch horror films.
Yeah.
Did you guys see The Haunting of Bly Manor? Did you like that one?
Oh, I haven't seen
No,
that
I have not
yet.
seen that.
Yeah, I don't
Tell
know
me
if
about
it's even.
it.
It was really good, and I like to binge watch, so it's like
Yeah.
one episode after the next.
So it's
after
a
the next.
series.
Yeah, it was a series, and I watched like the whole thing, and it was really, really scary with people falling down wells and disappearing, and
Okay.
of course, it takes place in an old mansion. I mean, and it's funny. I saw another horror film on Netflix. I can't remember the name of it, but I swear to you, the setting, it was the same mansion. That's what they do, probably, right? They crank these things out.
Yeah,
They
one
get the horror,
location,
right?
14
Right,
different
one
movies,
location. One location
different
suits all.
spots. Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
somebody's
they-
Airbnb.
Right.
Yeah.
It is, right? That needed a few extra bucks during COVID. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
we'll sell you the location.
I
Yeah,
mean,
so
it worked.
Dirt cheap.
It totally works. So I really enjoyed that film as well. And then there was one more horror film I recently watched on there. I fell asleep in the middle, so it wasn't that good. I'm not even going to talk about it. We don't want to talk. No, because there's so
I'm
many
so
really
with you.
good horror films out there. The Ring was great. I know you must have seen
Yeah,
that.
of course.
Yeah.
Caught
Yeah,
that.
the ring
Yeah.
was, that was good.
That again was like the first of a different kind too.
Yeah, no, I absolutely. You guys you are spot on. That's absolutely true.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
Do you
Oh,
like
I
the
wish.
psychological thrillers more, or like the horror kind
The
of?
creep shit. I feel like you like a good
grotesque.
creep factor. Like I
Yeah,
do. Like
sounds
it's
like-
It's definitely like the creep factor.
Yes.
It's like when like the dead come back. I like that.
Mhm.
Ghosts are always completely amazing.
Yes.
Definitely.
There's one I just saw on Netflix that I fell asleep in the middle of it. That was what it was about. This ghost that had taken over the house, and then another ghost. So each generation, somebody got sacrificed, and they all ended up becoming. It won't be a spoiler because I don't remember the name of the film, but in the end, you had like 3 generations of ghosts, and that was kind of cool. I liked that. That really, that was a little different because
Love
you
some
usually
good
have just
family
like
history.
Right. This was like Ancestry.com, and they were
Yes.
ghosts. I like that. That's it's a little different, right?
Yeah.
So
Totally.
yeah, I love horror, and in real life, I'm very, if you read about me, I mean, I went to Nigeria to study about traditional
Oh,
African
yes.
medicine,
Oh,
or what we call voodoo here. But basically, what turns me on are things that cannot be explained. And I learned something about myself because there is that part of me. My grandmother came to this country. She read tea leaves and tarot. That's how she made a living from Ireland and Scotland. And that's been passed down to me and my family. I don't read tarot, but I know things. Let's just say I'm intuitive or instinctive. But when I went to study Shango, the god of thunder in Nigeria, that is worshipped by the Yoruba people, I saw things that happened to people when they took in the spirit of Shango that could not be explained. And to this day, there is, even though I believe in science so strongly, I really do, and followed it during this pandemic because, we weren't getting a lot of information, and there were some brilliant scientists doing research on this. But as much as I believe in science is as much as I believe that there are things out there that we cannot explain. We can't. And in terms of bringing people back, from the dead, that spirits stay with us, I completely believe in that.
You have a passion for the unusual. This has led you to the Amazon, Lake Titicaca
Yes.
in Peru, perhaps
Yes.
even most fascinating, a village in Nigeria to study voodoo. This
Yes.
is where we park. We get off here and need
Yeah.
to explore this terrain. I have questions. We need stories. We've actually
Yeah.
wanted to do a whole episode on voodoo. So first, what did you know about voodoo before going to Nigeria?
So before I went, okay, this is what you need to know about me, and I talk about this a lot. It's very intrinsic to my personality. I knew two things from the time I was little, tiny. I told my mother I was going to be a model when I grew up, and I told my mother I was going to go to Africa. Now I was growing up in the Bronx, so these things were like pretty far out of the realm, and no one knew where this crazy kid came with these ideas. But I knew that inside, right? So
Yeah,
when
great
I was
ideas.
Right. When I was 20 years old, I was on an archaeology dig in my university, and my boyfriend at the time was a filmmaker, and he was trying to figure out what to do that summer. And I was digging on a highway up. We were digging up Indian artifacts on a highway they were putting in, and preserving them and all of that. I was in anthropology and archaeology, and he called me up. He said, "Hey, this opportunity came up in the Black Studies department to go to Nigeria." To this village called Ife. They had a school there, and he said, you just have to put together like what you would want to study there. So this was like, for me, this was a dream come true. I was always fascinated by things that couldn't be explained. And I knew, in traditional African religion, and I don't like to use the word voodoo because it's so derogatory, but I like to use the word traditional religion because you know what? All cultures have traditional religion.
Yeah.
And by that, I mean, those are the things that can't be explained. Those are the beliefs that we have that make things happen that, that you don't know why or how, but it comes from belief. So I had the opportunity, I applied to this program, and I was picked to go to Nigeria and study Shango, the god of thunder. And so this is where all the non-explained things start to come in. At the university, everybody was Nigerian that was there, except for 6 of us who came from the State University in New York at Binghamton. But I met this incredible student named Jide Abegunde, and lo and behold, he and I became fast friends. And his grandfather was the biggest traditional doctor in Oyo State, and all of a sudden I had entree to any kind of festival, any kind of private event that was
That's
being
awesome.
told where they were going to summon up, these African deities. Because if you understand this stuff, right, the God that the person believes in all of a sudden gets inside of them. Or as we say here, like in some of the religions, even here, the Pentecostals, they become filled with spirit. So the Yoruba people would take on the spirit, in this case, of Shango. And the person would become very powerful as Shango. And actually, you would watch at a ceremony the person completely transform. And it was really something.
I
And
can't imagine.
I've told this story a lot, and there are people that have said, "Oh, come on, Wendy." I watched someone as Shango take and walk on fire and not get his feet burned, and then he took hot coals in his hands and put a hot coal in his mouth. All right, there were no burns on the hand. Put the hot coal in his mouth, put his tongue out with the hot coal, then took and removed it. There wasn't a blister anywhere on him.
Wow.
And at this point I say, I don't care who believes me. I saw this with my own eyes. And after seeing that, it's like, come on, how can you ever 100% believe in anything that they tell you is a fact again when you've seen things that you can't explain? I can't explain it. I can't tell you how it happened.
I
And it
totally
really
believe you, Wendy.
I know,
No.
no, I'm getting that you do, but I've had people say, "Oh, come on, there's no way that can happen." And I'm telling you, yeah, there definitely is a way that it can. And I've continued to be fascinated by this. So we started doing, my husband and I started doing documentary films about different cultures. And yeah, we started out small. Okay, but I'm going to jump to a big film first. We did a film. It was a film short done in the southern Omo Valley in Ethiopia. There were 3 fascinating tribes there that I went there to do a film on, and one of them were the Hammer people, and they were having a ceremony, and I had gotten somebody local that was from that tribe that could guarantee that we could take pictures, make a film, and we had talked to the chief in the village, because anytime I do these films, I pay everybody as you would if I were making a film here. All right. As a matter of fact, I've made films here where people, New York friends of mine, they've done it for nothing. But when I intrude on another culture, because I don't exploit the culture, I'm there to tell their story. I want to make sure everybody gets paid. These are, people that are not moneyed. So, we were invited to this ceremony. It was called the Jumping of the Bulls. Now, here's another really true story. So in this ceremony, the boy is 13 years old. He's naked, and he has to jump over the back of 8 bulls. And, he's hoisted up, and he basically, hops from one foot to the other, having to keep his balance going over these bulls. But before you get to that part of the ceremony, they have what they call the dance. And this is where it gets to a part where you can't explain it. The women who are not wearing any clothing on top dance around in a circle, and the men come with branches and beat them on their backs until they're bleeding.
Oh, my God.
Okay? They're jumping up and down and dancing and having a grand old time. We filmed this, and I ended up not putting it in the film because I wanted to make a film that would make people want to learn more about a culture and be accepting of other cultures. And there's a fine line.
Yeah.
We left that part out of the film, which is called Fragile Beauty. But that was something that completely blew my mind, because if you did anything like that here, I mean, if someone hits you with anything and you're bleeding, you're going to cry.
Yeah.
Right. Your immediate reaction is like, oh my gosh, I'm in pain. So here you go. Not only were they not in pain, everybody was laughing and jumping up and down, and
State of mind, I suppose. But wow.
Thank you very much. So I have since. One of the things that I'm a member of the Explorers Club. There's 3,400 people in the world made up of academics, scientists, and filmmakers, and other people. And one of the things is I've talked to scientists at our club, and in an effort to have somebody try and explain this to me. And the only thing people have come up with, really, really bright people, are that we know so little about the human mind. And if we know so little about the human mind, it is completely plausible that a person could believe so hard in something that if they're being beaten, they might not experience pain because their brain is not conditioned to that.
Now you're speaking my language.
Right. Well, in the same way, we are conditioned to pain here. All right. We are conditioned to pain, but they wouldn't experience that. In the same way, someone that becomes possessed actually becomes possessed by the spirit. And certainly here in the United States, like in the Pentecostal religion, if you've ever attended any of those church ceremonies, someone gets the spirit. They're rolling on the floor. They're throwing themselves everywhere. It's not an act. They really are experiencing that.
Totally.
Right, totally, and nobody can really explain it. So there you go. I am fascinated by the unexplained out there.
Yeah.
And there are too many things that happen. And that's the part of me that is the same person that looks under the rocks, that'll go up the mountain to try and get the answers. And you know what? I don't have them all the time, so I continue to seek them, and that's what makes me an explorer.
Well, that's awesome. And let's get back to the voodoo. And I think it's
right.
and I now feel guilty for using that term. And I think
it's okay.
I think it's interesting that you call it traditional religion.
It is traditional medicine.
But I mean, voodoo is it's a term used in Nigeria. It means to repel bad spirits and disease, or mainly for protection and healing. So maybe because it's been stigmatized through fiction that we see in movies,
has, right?
You can feel that way. But I feel like it's our job to change that. Perhaps there is a light side and a dark side of voodoo, and there is. I agree. There
totally.
is the witchcraft or black magic being a part of the darker side. You have to keep the gods and spirits happy. I understand. A common way of doing this is through sacrificing. Did you witness anything like this, or what Americans would describe as extremely taboo?
Yeah, probably drinking goat's blood. They had already sacrificed the goat, so I didn't see it, but they passed around
Wow.
goat's blood
Wow.
that you had to
Shocking.
yeah, that was pretty shocking. You don't dare like not go along
I
with
was gonna
the
say,
no.
did you
No.
pass, or did peer pressure kind of succumb?
I would
Just
totally
that-
partake if I were playing
That is kind of
it was just a little bit, and to be perfectly honest, I was so sick the whole time I was there.
so
At
it
that
didn't
point,
really
I might
matter
as well
anyway.
just like
you
take
know
a
what?
sip.
It was
You know
just
what?
Might as
one
well.
more foreign freaking parasite that I was going to have to deal with when I got
Wendy.
back, and I did.
Oh.
It did. It was like it was the point of no return. I tell people, like they read about my adventures, and they're like, "Oh God, that's like so cool." I didn't have when I was in Nigeria. I swear to you, I didn't have one day where I felt good. Not one from the time
I'm sure,
I
and
got
I'm sure
there.
that's common.
I would have been in the same boat.
Oh, yeah.
Back
Wow.
in that day, it was, but you know what? We've learned a lot more now. If you saw the amount of medicine I travel with, I just anticipate that I'm going to
Oh,
be
I'm
sick.
sure.
I don't wait to get sick.
I'm
So,
sure.
I know that that's coming.
prepared.
But
You
let's
can't
get back
anticipate goat's blood, though. That's something you,
you
just
can't,
can't
right. There's no
really
anticipation.
plan for.
Why does that sound so familiar?
You can't
It's a
really.
goat-
Situational.
You
goat's
can't.
blood
You can't plan
diet.
for that, and that's really like when in Rome on steroids.
Right.
When in
Yeah.
Nigeria, did you visit any fetish markets, anything like that?
Oh
Fetish
yeah, of course I
market.
have.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's a
right.
fetish
You guys are all
market?
listen to
Fetish-
this
that's-
crew
that's-
here, the
that-
fetish crew.
Yes. Oh, you are on
Let's talk
with the
about-
fetish crew.
Yeah.
We might
Let's
as well change
talk
our
about-
name right now from something crunchy
Yeah,
to
let's
something
do it.
fetish.
Crunchy
The-
fetish
the,
crew.
The fetish crew.
Sure.
Welcome back to the fetish crew.
Welcome back to
Live.
CFC.
I'm so happy
Episode
to be here.
1 with Wendy, Stuart, Kaplan.
Right.
So
Big
Tyler,
fetish crew.
to answer your question, a fetish market, and Wendy, correct me if that's where you would go. To what they consider fetishes, that's like their.
They
Like,
just called it the market, but they call
where
it those markets.
that's where you
exist
buy
all
like
over the world.
shrunken monkey skulls.
Yeah, you can
and
bet
like,
shrunken or a dead
cool.
frog to do stuff with, or
The flea market.
yeah, it's like
little-
the shrunken head fetish
for
flea
oddities.
market.
I'm into
Right.
it. Oh, that sounds.
Yeah, you don't want to miss that.
Oh,
and
I
you know
love
what? I have
that.
visited
Don't
those.
I love that.
Every country has it. Bolivia, when I was looking for markets, they asked me there, and also in Peru, I want to go to the market. Okay, which market do you want? Because they actually differentiate. They may all be in one market complex, but the area where you buy the stuff to do the magic with is
Yeah.
a different area than, where you would buy other things. And it's quite interesting that, lots of things are dried out. Snake,
Sure.
animals, monkey heads. I mean, the sky's the limit. However, here's the downside to those markets, and here's always the conflict for me, because I talk a lot about conservation and not killing elephants, not killing rhino, because I think all of that's wrong. And my second big film I made was about gorilla and chimpanzee rescue in Cameroon, because they poach gorillas and chimpanzees. They
Oh.
use some of their body parts that are sent to the Middle East or to China
It's heartbreaking.
because they believe it's heartbreaking. So I make films about that, but on a smaller scale, when you're in these cultures, you'll go to a marketplace and there will be monkey heads there, and they will be selling those so that, the local people can carry on with their traditions. Here's how I have had to come to peace with this, right? Because I make films in these cultures. When it's small and it's a village, they will do certain things. However, if you can enlighten people that by killing a gorilla or a chimpanzee, it's not going to be there for their grandkids. People don't understand. They're like, these rangers are supposed to be protecting the park. If the ranger has 5 kids and a big guy who wants rhino horn comes along and says to the ranger, hey, I'm going to, give you X amount of dollars to get me that rhino horn. Do you think that the ranger's going to turn around and say, oh, well, I couldn't do that? Some will, but a lot won't. And a lot of them have had their families threatened.
Yeah, that affects everybody at that point.
Right. It's a chain of things. But on the smaller scale, okay, because you were talking about, these marketplaces, on a smaller scale, they do sell a lot of this stuff in the marketplace, and people believe in its power to heal. Again, we're back to the mind.
Yeah.
I don't know if the skin of a snake can heal anything, but if a person believes that,
They believe
you know,
Yeah.
right.
Placebo
And this is-
effect.
Thank you for getting that. So now we're coming full circle. We're coming back to like here. Don't they do these drug trials here? You know, half the people get the placebo
Right.
and the
Yeah.
other half get. Yeah, that happens all the time here. And there have been cases of people with a placebo that have had a positive reaction. Well,
Right.
God, you know, how do you explain that? They were given a sugar pill. You can't explain it because it's had something to do with I hate to use the cliche mind over matter, but that's a lot of what we're talking about
That's
here.
exactly
And it-
why
It
this
does
is
so
all
much.
a simulation right there.
Yeah.
You just said it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's really quite fascinating to me. And once again, we still don't have answers for a lot of these things. I mean, as soon as this pandemic is over and it's safe, I intend to get back out there, to make meaningful films showing incredible cultures all over the world, because you know what? A lot of these traditions are dying, and if we don't write books about them, if we don't make films about them, they'll just be gone. They'll just be gone. It'll just be a memory,
I
like
love
so
that
many.
you're doing this.
Well, thank you. I wish I could do it, like everything else. I mean, I could spend 365 days out of the year doing it, but you need some balance in your life too, you know. So then you become a podcaster.
That's right. Here we are.
Have some fun.
I'm telling you, I've met over this year. So I must have been on 200 shows, and then I have 2 shows myself. I didn't do podcasting till this pandemic hit. Let me tell you guys, I went down a rabbit hole, okay? Because they shut down New York, and every way that I could earn money or I've never had a survival job. I've always been, as you did in my intro, model, actress, comedian, MC, all of those things. I make films, came to a crashing halt. March 12th, they shut New York down.
That's right.
And all of a sudden, every single thing that I wasn't anymore. That's really huge. My friends that had desk jobs got to work out of their homes and still get paid. Now I wasn't getting paid. Okay, now everything that I did, there were no theaters to perform in because you guys heard they shut Broadway down. Everything had to be shut down. And here we are right now, and we're not totally out of it, but we're in a much better place. So there was something to be learned from all of this.
Absolutely. I'm eager to get back into it, and when we do, we're not beating around the bush.
Wonder why we say that.
Funny you should ask. Let's talk about a father-son duo that host a new podcast called Why Do We Say That?, where they look into why we say certain phrases in our everyday lexicon without really knowing where they come from. Everyone says things like paint the town red or got his bell rung, and these guys will make you laugh while teaching you the origins of these common phrases. New episodes are released every Tuesday and are available wherever you get your podcast. Go fuel up for your next trivia night and learn Why Do We Say That?
Hey guys, thanks for listening to Something Crunchy, and I hope you're enjoying the episode. It now pays to crunch down every week because we're hooking you up with big discounts from big brands. Up to 35% off Invicta watches using code CRUNCHY, and apparel from 8080, where in addition to 10% off using code CRUNCHY, every dollar you spend goes toward an entry into the Dream Car giveaway. Don't forget to join the Something Crunchy Facebook group for updates, polls, and the web's crunchiest memes. You can find us on Twitter at crunch_cast, and feel free to send any questions and your track submissions to somethingcrunchy@gmail.com. Now, let's get back to the show.
And we're back, crunching down with the Wendy Stuart Kaplan.
Oh, I'm having a grand old time. So you guys
Oh,
can ask
nice.
me anything.
Sweet.
Okay. Well, I had a lot more on horror movies.
Let's talk about the babysitter films. Come on, those are great.
The year is now for horror. Like everything that is exciting is going to be coming out this year.
Yeah.
This year is the bounce back. Like,
Is it? You think
it
so?
is. Oh, Candyman's coming out.
Yep.
Spiral from the
Candyman's
book
coming-
of Spiral from the
Yes.
Book of Saul came out this weekend. Profile looks interesting. Oh, there's a bunch that's coming out this year. That's supposed to be really good. A Quiet Place 2 comes out later this year. That's going to be good.
Oh my God, I know that film. Okay, yeah. See, now that
More
you're prompting my
Krasinski.
memory.
Yes.
Oh my God, that's great. The Lady in the Lake.
Ooh,
Ooh,
yes.
good
That was a
one.
good one.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
That was a good one. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I like, you know what? This is like therapy because you know what you made me realize? I like things that are haunting. It's very specific what
Those are
no, because some
things that
people like,
resonate.
you know, right. Some people, right. You got it right away because you said, I like the creep factor.
Yeah.
I like
No, that's what gets
haunted.
me too. Like I get
No, we do
that.
too. We're big
Yeah.
into the shark genre, Jaws, open water.
The shark. Can I tell you something?
Open
Of
Those
course.
do
water.
absolutely nothing for me. Nothing. I mean, they're entertaining
Really?
as films.
Open
Oh,
water.
see, I love it. Open water.
Did more for
Mhm.
me because like just
Scared
the
the
thought of
shit
being
out of me.
alone by myself out in the middle of the ocean is like
Mhm.
just like
Terrifying.
swimming but
Terrifying.
alone.
We're big into the creature genre. It, A Quiet Place,
The creature. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the
Alien, and
creature genre.
Tremors. If you,
Sure.
if
Right.
you count them, I do.
I do.
Wow.
Kevin Bacon. Yeah. He's scary.
No, I like the creep factor. Like I was with Wendy on that because those are the ones that definitely like just like get me like in a weird place.
And y'all are into ghosts. You're into the paranormal.
Yeah, I'm into
am.
ghost
I
spirits.
am.
Yeah, definitely.
And
And I
But a lot of-
believe like all of that.
Oh,
Like,
well,
I
and a
feel
lot
like
of
I
the
feel
classics
that.
come
Like,
from
yeah.
ghosts. You have Poltergeist, and even the original House of
Yes.
Haunted Hill,
Yes.
Exorcist, The Omen.
Oh my God. Okay, stop right there. The Haunting of Hill House. Oh,
Yes.
Oh
God.
yeah.
We love that's another one. This is so great that we're having this conversation. You're bringing this all up for me. I won't sleep tonight. The Haunting,
We'll talk
right?
through
The
it.
Haunting of Hill House. That was such a great film. The remake. I watched the remake though. It was not nearly the first one. There was
No,
something
this-
about that first one.
The
right?
first one was so much better. It was a lot more haunting, just like the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like it was, a lot more scary. And I love, we love The Shining, Misery, The Bird, Psycho. Your
Misery,
classic.
The
Okay,
Birds.
Misery
Oh.
was great. Okay, yeah, but these are okay. Well, we're in a lot of different genres here. We need to do a whole
True.
show on
True.
all of the
we
different
could like
genres.
delve
Yeah.
into so many different
Yeah.
areas of those.
The Shining actually encompassed the creep factor, the
Yeah.
ghosts,
yeah.
the whole thing.
all
Yeah, The
of
Shining
it.
was a terror. I love The Shining was really great. But the one with Kathy Bates again, what was that one again?
Misery.
Misery.
Great film,
Gosh,
but
it was good.
it was twisted. So Twisted is different from Ghosts. It's
Yeah.
not on
Oh,
the
yeah.
same page.
I think
True.
that was
You know,
Stephen King's best book.
See,
was
but like
Misery.
Hostel also messed with me because it's like,
Gonna say
how easily
Hostel
could
and
I go to
Saw.
a different country and someone's like, oh, hey, how about we like go to this
Kidnap
like
you
fun
real quick.
festival or this
I
like cool
didn't
thing?
see Hostel.
Oh, and then like all of a sudden your eyes getting like ripped out by some like rich guy that's
Yeah.
paying to do it just to get a crazy high. I mean,
For
it's
his
like
jollies.
because there's people
Oh,
with a lot
God,
of money
that's-
that like will do whatever
Right.
with it just to like again like it's like get their jollies on. That's crazy. Like that's real somewhere.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, okay. So you just hit on something. You know that's real somewhere, and
Yeah.
that's what's so terrifying.
Yeah.
Like you
Right.
even just
This
telling
is
me
true
about that.
story
That's terrifying.
somewhere.
Yeah, you know that's happening somewhere or
Yes.
happened somewhere.
Anything that's true like gets
Based
me.
on a possible true story.
Yeah.
Frightening.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that
Absolutely.
far fetched.
Even like a
Right.
believable fake true story like Blair Witch, like found footage genre is going to be.
Totally.
Oh,
But
yeah.
that Blair Witch was okay. But that's another one that we all connected to, right? There was that good horror film has elements in it that makes you say to yourself, "Oh my God, I know that can happen. I
That's
just
right.
know that it happens somewhere. I know it can happen to me."
Yeah.
Definitely. But my freak factor is really like the ghost thing. I've stayed at places. So being Scotch Irish, I can feel things, I know things, and I can walk into a house or a room, and if it feels bad, I know I don't want to be there.
Oh,
And
I've
when
so felt that before.
have
Yeah.
any
I
of you been
literally-
to Salem? Have
Oh,
you gone to Salem,
no.
Massachusetts?
No, we
No.
are very well traveled, but none of us have been to
No.
Massachusetts. I haven't. Blair
Nope.
hasn't.
Have
It's-
not.
I mean,
So
no.
that's where all the witch trials were, and the
Yeah,
burning
oh,
of the
course.
witches,
Of course.
Yes,
and
yes.
stoning of the
Yes.
witches. Well, there's a huge hotel, a big old hotel in the middle of the green there, and so Salem, of course, would appeal to me. You can
Yeah.
totally understand that. Salem would
Definitely.
completely appeal to me. We get there and we check into this huge old hotel, And I go up to the room and we put our suitcases down. It was my husband, my daughter, and myself. And I looked at them. I said, don't unpack your bags. And they said, why? I'm like, we can't stay in this room. And my daughter, she was, I think, 8 or 9 at the time. She said, why can't we stay here? I said, because I said so. And I went down to the front desk and I got the manager. I said, I need to have my room changed. I can't stay in that room. And he looks at me and he said, okay. And I could tell by the look on his face. I said, I am not the first person that told you they couldn't stay in that room. And he looked at me and he said, he said, no, you're not. And he said, I'll talk to you. And he takes me aside. He said, someone had committed suicide in that room.
Oh.
And I could feel it. And it had happened like it had happened like 5 years earlier.
That's amazing.
But I could feel
you could feel an energy.
I have felt
in
that
Yeah.
in a house
They
before.
should have to say that. Like, you have to say that in
Real
realtor.
estate.
Yeah, in real estate terms, they have to tell you if that's
No,
gone
I was
down.
looking
Like,
for a house
They
in
do.
college in a small town in Lubbock, Texas. It was like literally 2-bedroom, like crap college house. We're going in, and I'm not kidding you. Like, I walked in and it felt so dark, so heavy. I literally
could feel
like
it.
I had to like run out. Like, I've never in my life, like, I'm not trying to be dramatic. I never try and make a
No,
scene
I
in
get
front of
it.
people. Like, I'm actually like
Yeah.
would never do that. I was like, y'all, like, I gotta get out of here. Like,
Something's
it was
weird.
intense. I've never felt such a feeling in my life. Like, I've actually felt like I've had spirits around, but they've been more of like a positive vibe. That was like
Which is cool.
that
right.
was like a different feeling in there where I was like, I don't know what happened, but like
nauseating.
I was sick. Like, I had to get out. It
Yeah,
was, like,
it's like the most incredible way
Never
it
have I
comes
felt
over you
it.
that you just like want to jump out of your skin
yeah.
and get out of there. I'm curious, what's your ethnic background? Nationality? It's
We
got a
are
lot to
kind
do
of all
with-
over the place. Our mom has a heavy Scottish
Scottish.
background.
Polish.
okay.
Polish
Russian.
background mostly.
Okay, you can
Well,
just stop
Scottish
right
Polish,
there.
I would say.
Right. So I was getting that through the phone, and you can stop right there. If you're Scottish and Polish, forget it. You know, not everybody
What does
in
this
your
mean,
family.
Wendy?
And when
Well,
I
not
say
everybody
Polish,
was
I mean
as
heavy on the
sensitive,
Polish.
But you are definitely you're one of the ones that got that. You have dreams. You must have dreams that are not like dreams. They're very
crazy.
real. They're intense. Yeah.
Intense. I forever
Yeah, that's that
had
Scotch
intense
Polish thing.
Lucid
No one ever
humor.
told you that? God.
dreams. I didn't know it was a thing.
that was a human
Yeah,
thing.
it is. Yeah.
Wow.
No,
But-
I've definitely had like insane, especially so during pregnancy. I know that's a thing already, but I already had like intense. It was like hyper intense on a
Sixth
different
sense.
level. Like, I felt like it was I living in a different world when I'm asleep, and when I wake
Yeah,
up.
because you probably
I'm
went out of your body
exhausted.
and went elsewhere. Right. Completely.
Yeah.
Totally.
I totally love talking to you. I wish we were here in the same room together.
Oh,
I have
yeah.
totally experienced that. And you wake up and it's like you never went to sleep. You're
Yes, I'm
completely
exhausted.
drained.
Yeah.
Exhausted.
Yes.
Wow. Wow.
I totally agree with what Tyler said, that it should be required to tell somebody that that's happened in a room that you're about to stay
Yeah.
in. Do the right thing, alerting anyone who maybe wouldn't want to stay there
Yeah.
that's happened. And two, for anyone that, I mean, there's going to be people that flock to it, specifically asking for that room. If you just announce
Yeah,
it.
but you know what? Like a hotel, something like a hotel, you know, I would say maybe 1 out of every 10 people might, you know, react the way I did, but most people won't.
You think?
I say, oh my God.
It's all in
I could totally-
presentation. You know, there's a haunted
No
hotel
way.
in Jerome that if you stay there
The Grand
overnight,
Hotel.
they
I know
guarantee
so many
something
people-
haunted happens overnight. Like they market that.
Yeah.
So it's
there
just,
are places that will market that, but
Some don't
know, a
want to
lot of-
market it.
right, some don't want to market it. And for honestly, I'll say it, for most people, they wouldn't go in and feel that. I just
Some
somebody
stuff
like
goes
me,
down
No,
in
of
hotels.
course people don't want
There's
to
a
market
lot of
it.
things that happen in hotels.
Half
that,
the
like,
half the
don't get
hotels in
discussed.
Vegas don't have a floor 13 because they
Oh
don't
yeah,
want,
for that reason.
for that
yeah,
reason,
you're exactly
and because
right,
people
right.
don't even know there is a 13th floor.
You know
You
how
won't
many
find it on
things
the
happen in
elevator 'cause no one
Vegas
wants to stay
hotels?
there.
You think every time they would turn into like a haunted hotel, anytime something like
Well,
happened
just
in a hotel room?
superstitious in Vegas. No one wants to be unlucky in Vegas.
Oh
and
yeah,
stay in
it's got to
13.
do with their
Gosh.
gambling
Of
there.
course it
Nobody
does.
wants to be
Yeah.
on the 13th
Of
Yeah,
floor.
it's the gambling.
But
Thirteenth
I've
has
had
been
my
lucky for us.
experiences just like you have. I went away on a ski weekend and The person whose house we were staying at was a beautiful old house from the late 1700s, and she was Israeli, and she stayed in this house with her kids and husband, and they would go skiing every weekend, and they weren't going to be there, and she invited myself and one of my other girlfriends. A bunch of us went up there, right? And beautiful old house. She wasn't there. We go to get in, and the key's not working. Now, why isn't the key working? Well, of course, the red flag went off in my head almost immediately. That key wasn't working because we were not welcome into that house. So my girlfriend sends one of the kids that we have with us through the window, opens up the window, climbs in, and opens up the door from the inside. Well, we walk into this beautiful old house from the late 1700s. I felt it immediately, but I was with a bunch of friends, and you don't want to look like the whack job on the ski trip.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't mean to appear crazy, but
No,
anybody else feel this intense spirit
Right.
around us?
I didn't say anything initially, and we go in and we cook dinner, and the feeling got worse and worse, and now it's time to go to bed, right? And we divvy everybody up to go into the bedrooms, and I'm feeling worse and worse. And my daughter said, can I sleep with you? So we put my husband in a little room across the hall. My daughter and I, get into this bed in this room. And an hour after I fell asleep, and I've never had this happen. This was the first time it ever happened, and hopefully the last. I woke up with a thing sitting on my chest choking me. And
What?
I screamed as loud as I could.
Oh my
And
God.
everybody, my husband came running in, my daughter woke up, my girlfriend came running, and I screamed, get off of me. And we put the lights on, and the thing was gone. Well, I slept with the lights on after that. My girlfriend said to me, you know what, Wendy? She said, I was so creeped out by this place. My girlfriend grew up, her parents ran a funeral parlor, so she's sensitive to these things. But neither one of us had said anything, You don't want to be outed for being a kook.
Oh no,
Right.
I would
Makes
say it in like
sense.
2 seconds. I'd be like, y'all.
You would have been like,
no,
I'm out
y'all.
of here.
No, you
But
would know
she
in
said to me,
2
I
seconds.
knew it the minute we walked in, and she said when the key didn't work in the lock, she said I had
Yeah.
my suspicions. So the next night we checked into a hotel and had a great ski weekend. The woman who owned the house, when we told her what had happened, she looked at us like we had 4 heads. She's like, we have never had anything like that what you're
Really?
describing. I'm like, you're not aware that there's any spirits or ghosts in that house? No, absolutely not. And I guess that's what I mean, like the hotel room in Boston. 10 people will be fine and one person won't. And I'm always the person that won't be, It's just I'm real
Hey,
sensitive.
Some people feel things.
Right. Thank you. I love that. Some people feel things. Yeah, so that's why I'm so into studying about this stuff, and always have been. And I was born into the world with all of these questions about it. I'm an empath, and here I am on Crunchy.
Yes. Yes. Join us.
So do you get into any of these adventures in your book, She's the Last Model Standing, which is available
Of
on
course I
Amazon?
do. Yes, thank you so much. Yes, I do. She's the Last Model Standing is my memoir about from the time I was little. And as I told you, wanting to go to Africa, wanting to be a model. And it's all the stories and things that happened to me after. And of course, my book opens up in Nigeria. Why wouldn't it be? I should also add into Nigeria as many things that I saw with possession and not being able to be explained. I hitchhiked around that country with waist-length blonde hair during a civil war, and nothing happened to me because I knew nothing was
awesome.
going to happen to me. There was nothing that could happen to me. And one of the areas, my book opens up in the area where the Boko Haram were. They were there in those days under a different name. But, they've been responsible for a lot of the terrorism that's been in the northern part of Nigeria. Well, there I was with my waist-length blonde hair, tripping the life
Oh my
fantastic.
gosh.
That would not a care in the world, and would not have believed for 1 minute that I could have been kidnapped, raped, killed, or any of those things, because the upside to who I am is I know I always have traveled with this guardian angel. And that's what lets me go to these places and and do these incredible things. My book opens up there, and then I take you through my life after that, getting into modeling, actually acting in some horror films too. How about that?
Yeah.
Because the girl can scream.
That's right.
Right? And then ultimately, finding this path where I know that I want to get back to all of the things that make me want to explore. I love modeling. I love acting. Stand-up comedy is great, but I have so many dimensions, and it is that unknown out there that I'm constantly going after.
Yeah.
And we initially started making these small films in places like the Amazon, telling stories about the local people there. But one of the cool things that happened, again, we were in Costa Rica, and there was this person that everyone kept telling me, see, these things will find you. When you're like this, when you're an empath, the things find you. You don't have to find them. We were in the Corcovado jungle, and we were told about a medicine man there named Augusto, who spoke some English, and we should go talk to him. He was fascinating, and he would, show us his herb garden. So we meet with this guy, and he indeed has an herb garden so potent that he swore it cured cancer. Well, some of that turned out to be true because there were executives from the Lilly pharmaceutical company down there at the same time trying to get information from him. A lot of the drugs that we have, have been compounded from what they have used in the rainforest.
Yeah, totally.
And that is that's true. I mean, whether you're a scientific person or a person that believes in spirits or whatever, that is fact that, a lot of the drugs that we have come from traditional beliefs and knowledge of what plants do. So he takes us to this garden, and he's had people visit him for cancer cures. So my husband happened to have a foot fungus that he couldn't get rid of. And ironically, he's a photographer. He had a client at the time, which was Lamisil. And you know about Lamisil. It's the cream you put on your foot for foot fungus. And and it's not very good for you. And he was going back to shoot this job for them, which I thought was ironic. He had a foot fungus. And I just happened to mention this to Augusto. And he said to me, okay, he looks at Alan's foot, and then he says, I will come back and visit you at breakfast the next morning. So we're sitting having breakfast, and he appears, and he had this vial with what was filled with what looked like cow poo. He had a knife and a lighter. And I said, well, what is that? He says, well, I'm going to get rid of the fungus on your husband's foot. Now, okay, so you know what? I do put my money where my mouth is. I'm like, okay, we'll go for it.
Yeah.
So, because Alan had this fungus for like a year, and his toe was a mess. So we sit down, and the first thing is he put something on it to numb it. Then he heated up the vial with the cow poo. Then he put a very slight incision and pours the cow poo onto the toe, and then wraps it. All right. And like he made a poultice out of it. And he said to me, okay, he said, you can take it off tonight. And I said, all right. And then what happens? And he says, well, the fungus will be gone. And even me, the great believer, I'm like, come on, So that night I take the dressing off of Alan's foot, and, of course the fungus was still there. We fly back to New York. He shoots the job for the Lamisil people. I hope he didn't tell him about his experience with the cow poo and the fungus. So he shoots the job, and a month goes by. And I just happened to say to him, I said, hey, how is your foot doing? I said, did you use any of that Lamisil on it? He said, no, I didn't, because there really wasn't any need to. He said, look, the toenail had fallen off. There was a new toenail there, and the fungus was completely gone, and it never returned.
Wow.
So there you go. That is not a story, though, of mind over matter. I don't believe it. I believe what was ever in that cow concoction
was better than Lamisil.
Options are nice,
Thank you. We all need our options in life, do we not? So yes, a lot of these stories are in my book. My story of being a model, having every terrible modeling job on the face of the earth, only to be topped by every horrible acting job, and just hanging in there, and always
Tough
believing
industry.
in the bright. right? And believing in the bright side of things and emerging to have a career decades later where I'm still doing it. I'm still doing all those things, and I've added into my repertoire. And the jobs are, of course, 200 times better than they used to be. And I've had so many incredible experiences. And I wrote that book as a book of inspiration for people. It says, you know what? There may be concrete in the ground, but you can be the little blade of grass that comes up between the concrete as long as you believe that you can do it. And I am being known for one statement: I never give up. I never give up.
Love that.
And I try and share that with everyone that I talk
Yes.
to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Every person has that within them if they believe that they can go for it. And you can't let the distractions stop you. You can't let the naysayers stop you. You have to believe in yourself. And that's what my book is about. And once again, I proved it during the pandemic. I completely reinvented my thing. I mean, the day after they shut New York down, I came up with a cooking show, Pandemic Cooking with Wendy. We're at
Nice.
113 episodes later. 113.
Wow.
May I
Gotta
add
get
in?
creative.
Right. And I couldn't cook.
That's what's
Still not
funny
sure
about
I can
it.
Better.
Yeah.
Well, it's even funnier because I had got COVID a week later and I couldn't smell or taste.
Oh,
I don't know how
gosh.
funny it was for the people that made the recipes on there, but everybody's been pretty happy and I got great comments. And my show was so inspirational to people during the pandemic that got sick. Lots of people were sick in New York. I mean, this was
Sure.
very real here,
Yeah.
so to be able to bring them comedy. And for me, all of a sudden I'm using my comedy, I'm using my acting, I'm using my wigs, my dresses, my makeup. And the best thing was I didn't have some client telling me to tone it down, which has been the story of my
Yeah,
life.
just be you.
I get booked for a job and they're like, okay, can you bring it down a little bit? Nobody told me to bring it down, which was so great.
Yeah,
I could
be
just
yourself.
let
Let it out.
let it all hang out. I could be any character I wanted to be. And again, it was hard not having an audience talking into a camera, and that's all I had. But then you go on social media, and then people that were reaching out to me, oh my God, I love your show, which is on my YouTube channel, Wendy Stuart TV on YouTube, along with the
Yes.
2 other podcasts that I started. I am very much a part of an LGBTQ organization, which I helped start 10 years ago called Triversity. And we came up with a show, Triversity Talk. I've interviewed filmmakers, entertainers, politicians, policymakers, doctors, people transitioning, anybody with a great topic that wants to talk about it. I love doing that show.
Yes,
awesome.
I heard some of your stand-up, and you were very open about the fact that you prefer the company of men who prefer the company of men.
I like that. Yes. Oh, you've heard me talk about my gay husbands. Yes. I had 6. Now I think I'm down to 4. But there was a pandemic. Don't judge me on that. I need a little time to go out there and get
Rookie
rid of
numbers.
This is a no judgment zone.
Right. No, I get that. So I developed that show. And then this December, you couldn't even go into a restaurant and dine here. We had this outdoor dining where, excuse me, you would freeze your tits off out there. But we were all trying to keep our friends' restaurants going. So many places
that's
went
cool.
under. So I was sitting outside freezing and I came up with an idea to do a show using big entertainers and musicians and well-known writers. And that show is called If These Walls Could Talk. It is shot on location at my favorite restaurant and cabaret room, Pangea, on the Lower East Side. The people that own it have supported the arts for years, and now it's our time to support them. So I broadcast that show once a week with my co-host, wonderful actor and interviewer, Tim Moss. And we've had on Leland Sklar. We've had on Scott Page from Pink Floyd, Michael Musto, journalist, writer. Oh, I could just go down the list of the most incredible people. And the coolest thing, the thing that I pride myself with in the show, I don't talk about being famous. I mean, everyone knows they're famous, right? Everyone knows who you are. Let's talk about what makes you strong, what makes you tick, how the hell you got through the pandemic when you had a whole touring schedule put together and now it's come to a crashing halt, Leland Sklar, world-renowned bassist. You can go on YouTube He invented a whole freaking YouTube thing for himself with like hundreds and thousands of listeners. All right. Like
Yeah,
that
that's
whole
awesome.
audience that he couldn't get to because he couldn't tour. Now they're following him on YouTube. And I swear that he's such a legend with a long beard, and he sits in front of the camera and he talks music. You know, he talks to people. And that's what we've learned, and that's what I've learned. I want to create projects where I'm talking to people, where we're real and it's a nitty-gritty, just like what we're doing here right now.
Well, you are fascinating and such a wonderful guest. And for more
thank
awesome
you.
stories, check out Wendy's memoir, She's the Last Model Standing. It's available on Amazon and easy to find online. Thank you so much for joining us. I
Thank
very
you,
much
Wendy.
hope we can talk again sometime.
Oh, yes. You know I can talk forever.
Yeah.
But I'm
You
going to
could
go
too.
find a horror movie on Netflix now. You guys got me all riled up.
Yeah.
Lots of good recommendations, right?
Yeah, really. With that, what is that, The Hostel?
Oh,
Where is that
Hostel.
available?
Hostel and Hostel 2. There's one with guys and one with girls. And
Eli
it is,
Roth.
oh, they're brutal. It's
They're brutal.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah,
I'll
brutal.
Bad.
torture porn.
Totally brace myself. Thank you all so much.
No,
Thank you so much for
well.
coming on. We
Thank you.
really appreciate your time. It was such a pleasure to speak with you.
Such a pleasure.
Well, take
Okay.
care.
And
Thanks
we'll
again,
all talk
Wendy.
again.
Yeah,
Sounds
please.
good.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Wendy. God.
She's cool.
She's been all over the world. I mean, can you imagine seeing some of these things? And like, would you eat like, I feel like if I would drink the goat's blood if it was like, we're in the situation.
Yeah, I don't know, Blair. I completely doubt that. I think that you would say that.
Well, you
and
think
then-
I'm going to be like, oh no, pass. Like, I know everyone's doing
Blair,
it. But
I
I'm
like-
going to be like that fucking
Tyler,
brat.
what did Blair look like when she took that shot of Tito's before we came on the air?
Well,
She ran out of the room.
$1,000 bet. Blair's gonna order the goat's blood, and then she's never
gonna
tasted
smell
a
it,
sip of
never
it.
taste it. It's just gonna sit
Sip?
there.
Yeah.
Just
Small
gonna sit.
sip.
It's
Her
gonna be.
her full shot of goat's
Small
blood.
sip.
Doesn't matter if it's $1,300 a shot. She's ordering it and not drinking any of it.
You
I
want
would
you want to drink some
never
goat's
order-
blood? We can make that happen.
No.
like-
I'm not just doing it in the studio.
We don't need to go to
No, this is when we're
Nigeria.
in.
Yeah, right.
Who needs a
here.
time machine?
Yeah.
You want to go to Africa?
Go to Africa.
You want goat's blood? And get it to you before midnight.
Well, she was definitely great.
Yeah.
Cool stories. Cool story, Hansel. I've never even been to Mount Vesuvius. Well, I am dying to tell you about the guest we have coming up. It's insane.
Yes.
You wouldn't believe us if we told you.
Can't even tell you.
Season 4 has already been a big one, and it's just heating up. Don't forget to check out somethingcrunchy.com, where you'll find every episode, our links for social media, and the Almighty Crunch Store, where you'll find all kinds of crunchy gear showing that you are a proud citizen of Crunch Nation. There's also that Something Crunchy Facebook group, Up to No Good. You guys are hilarious, and it remains the most fun you can have with your pants on. This has been another episode of Something Crunchy, and as always, don't ever forget to live your crunchiest life.
And be crunchy to one another.
Please don't forget to subscribe, like, follow, and all that crunchy good shit. Thank you for listening.
I have a name for you. I just hit Crunchy. And I called Eileen and I said, is this person's name Crunchy? Because you never know, right?
You can call him Crunchy.
Maybe that'll
love
become your name now, Crunchy.
That's perfect.
So,
Crunchy be. And be crunchy to one another. And be crunchy to one another.
I need to redo mine too.
I mean,
Wow,
I went too fast.
it's terrible. This has been an. Just 2 seconds.
It was the cheers that threw me off.
It was
You
the
can't-
cheers.
can't pan
I knew it was
bottle.
going to be funny
we
and
even
worthless. as
discussed
soon
this
as we-
earlier today.
We've tried to.
He was like, we definitely need bottles later because we can't cheers cans.
And you brought me a 6-pack of hot beers. So they're still in the fridge.